DMV Download, the new daily podcast from WTOP News, is out now. Hosts Megan Clorty and Luke Garrett get the story behind the story.
Every weekday afternoon, Megan and I will go beyond the headlines with WTOP reporters and sources to bring you more on the biggest local stories impacting you, our fellow Washingtonians.
The DMV Download podcast is available now on all major podcast platforms. Subscribe today so you don't miss an episode. The DMV Download podcast is presented by Steamfitters Local 602.
Welcome to the newest episode of Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. I'm your host, Jason Fraley, picking the brains of the top filmmakers, musicians, and artists of our time. Wynonna Judd has canceled her tour this Saturday at Hollywood Casino at Charlestown Races in West Virginia after her mother's suicide on April 30th. I spoke to Wynonna just 3 days before the tragic incident, which happened the day before the Judds were inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Hey, Wynonna Judd, thanks so much for joining us.
Hi, Jason.
We spoke to you, I guess at the very beginning of the pandemic, like 2 years ago. So it's great to chat with you again. Thanks so much for doing this. And what can we expect from it? It's called Her Story and Hits, not history, but her story.
Lots of passion, Jason. It's all about that.
I'm told that this is like your first ever all hits tour, So is that something fans have been asking for a while?
It has been an accumulation of conversations with my fans and asking them to tell me their stories. And I noticed a lot of times the songs, well, they just, they weave into their story as well. And I just noticed during the pandemic when I was doing my Zoom calls that the fans would constantly talk about the music because it's a healer, it's a motivator, it's something that we all use to encourage ourselves to move past a relationship or get through something really difficult and the pain and the joy of life. And so I just noticed that my songs were, interwoven, and it was like, wow, this is like a real community fellowship through music family. And I just thought it's important to celebrate, especially after what we've all been through, and live music again. Thank you, Lord, for getting to show up and have fans in the audience and sing to them. And so what can people expect? Joy, absolute joy. My husband and I have such an appreciation for being back on the tour again, and just being able to play music is just so encouraging to me, because it was really painful, to be home for that long and not have shows and people there at the shows. It was just really lonesome. And so it's time to celebrate, my dear. It's time to get back to live music.
Oh, yeah. Let's all celebrate for sure. And you have plenty of reason to celebrate, not only getting back out on the road, but also, I believe this year marks your 30th anniversary as a solo artist. Obviously, you're in the Judds, the duo, but 1992, 30 years ago, was your solo debut with that self-titled record. Wynonna, can you believe it's been 30 years?
I can, and it's also surreal. I'll be honest. I don't know if you have children. When you have children and you mark their milestones, you just stand back and you observe and you think, how did we get here? How did this happen and go so fast? Life is moving by so quickly, and I'm just in awe most of the time. I'll be honest. I'll be on stage singing a song and think to myself, I was 18 years old when I started out. I was 30 when I had my first kid. And you just go back through your life and think, wow, I've been through so much in my short life, and 30 years as a solo artist. It's pretty weird. I'll be honest. It's very strange to think of my history and go, I've been doing this for 38 years, more than half my life.
Wow. Yeah. And could you close your eyes and go back to that moment right before, you're about to do the solo thing? I mean, was it simultaneously exciting and also a little terrifying to break out on your own?
It's much like your wedding day. You have so much that you're feeling. You're feeling all the feels, and you definitely, walking down memory lane for me is both gratifying as well as I'm in awe of the fact that I've done so much and the fans have been there so long. I know their names, I know their stories, and it's just such a journey that, I spend a lot of time just looking up thinking, Lord, how did all this happen, and why me? How is this that I'm still here at the seat of, of country music at the table? How do I still have a seat here? It's pretty amazing, actually.
Well, you just said why me, but why not me, you know?
Stay tuned for the rest of my conversation with Wynonna Judd, but first a message from a fellow WTOP podcast.
DMV Download, the new daily podcast from WTOP News, is out now. Hosts Megan Clorty and Luke Garrett get the story behind the story.
Every weekday afternoon, Megan and I will go beyond the headlines with WTOP reporters and sources to bring you more on the biggest local stories impacting you, our fellow Washingtonians.
The DMV Download podcast is available now on all major podcast platforms. Subscribe today so you don't miss an episode. The DMV Download podcast is presented by Steamfitters Local 602.
Welcome back to Beyond the Fame with the rest of my conversation with Wynonna Judd.
So that first album, you had multiple hits on No One Else on Earth and I Saw the Light. We can all sing them. But tell me about She Is His Only Need, because that was your very first number one off that solo album. And what does it mean to you to still be performing that on stage 30 years later?
It marks a part of my life where I was in quite a transition. I went from death to life within months of each other, ending the tour with Mom and then coming out on my own and celebrating that song, walking out on stage at the AMAs and seeing all my peers sitting in the audience, representing all genres of life. And there's my mom, and I'm doing it on national television, and I've been living in a goldfish bowl since 1983. So here I am.
Absolutely. And why do you think No One Else on Earth took off so well? Why do you think that connected with everybody?
I would like to know myself. I really do. Because I think to myself, what the heck? I think because it was me, I was so young and full of life and passionate. And I think people were just watching me celebrate my independence. And I think they felt they could see themselves, in me. And they talk an awful lot about, when they tell me their story, they talk about how they identify with me. I was riding my Harley. I had my hair jacked to Jesus. I was just feeling really feisty and alive. And I think people love that. And I think they enjoy watching me because they feel the same way.
And then to round out the trifecta of that, we're talking 30 years of that first album, I Saw the Light. That was Andrew Gold and Lisa Angel. Is that how you say it? Angeli wrote that one. But do you remember when they gifted you that the first time? And were you like, wow, this is going to be a gem?
I've had so many stories like that, Jason. I think to myself, each song represents a chapter. And so I Saw the Light was me coming out on stage as the, well, let's just put it this way. I'm not going to put up with your stuff, dude. And bye, Felicia. And it's definitely me in that, mode. And women just look at me and go, yeah, been there, done that. And so we relate to each other. And again, I'm talking to the people about my experience. And I think we're all on a journey and we all have stories. Everyone's got a story. And mine is that I've been doing this since 1983. I've been on the road. I'm a road scholar. And so I wake up in a different state every day and I go out on stage and I give everything I've got.
Well, we look forward to you giving us everything you got in a different state in West Virginia. Actually, and we're a DC station. So, for the whole Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, DC area, come on out to the Hollywood Casino. I guess just final seconds. I know we're tight on time, but when all the, it's been 30 years of solo career, 38 total. Decades from now, when all of it, your history, your herstory is written, what would you want to be remembered as? I mean, we just talked to Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis because they're getting honored in DC at that Grammys on the Hill. We've been there many times. Well, they said they want to just be remembered as nice guys. But what would it be for you? How do you hope people remember you?
Well, the corny answer is, and I feel like I'm in a corny place right now because of the celebrations. I want to be remembered. And I love to hear people's stories about how my music has influenced and encouraged them through their ups and downs, the joys and the pains of life. And just to be remembered and thought of as someone who sung how people felt and represented just the truth. And that's what my music is about, telling those stories. So just to be honest and real, that to me is a gift.
Totally. Well, again, everyone, it is Wynonna Judd, the great Wynonna. Thanks so much for taking the time for us today.
Thank you, Jason.
All right, be well.
Thanks so much for joining us on Beyond the Fame with Jason Fraley. Remember to hit the subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating if you like what you hear. We'll see you next time. I wanted to take a second to tell you about an app I really enjoy. Living in the DC area is great, and Podcast DC gathers all of the local shows that I like all in one local app. Health, sports, local news, politics, and so much more. Podcast DC is the new local app with hundreds of DC area podcasts to choose from. I can earn exciting rewards just for listening and share the podcasts I love instantly. Available in the App Store or in Google Play, listen local with Podcast DC.